before psychology claimed the mind, before religion divided the heavens, Africa had already mapped the soul. Long before Europe wrote its philosophies, before Asia shaped its doctrines, Africa listened to the breath of humanity and understood something the rest of the world would one day forget. That a human being is not a single thing, not a single essence, not a single light, but a constellation. Long before the world spoke of spirit, Africa mapped the human soul, not as one piece, but as many. Breath, shadow, destiny, name, light. Each one separate, each one alive, each one carrying its own responsibility in the harmony of a life. This blueprint did not come from temples or scrolls alone. It came from the first people, the sun, whose trance dances carried their souls into the wind. It came from Kemet, where scribes carved Ka, Ba, and Ren into stone so memory would never disappear. It came from the Yoruba, who taught that destiny sits in the head, and from the Igbo, who taught that destiny walks beside you as your chi. It came from the Zulu and Xhosa, who kept the ancestors living inside the body. From the Sotho and Tswana, who saw light glowing within every person. From the Dogon, who believed the soul was seeded from the stars. From Ethiopia, where breath itself was holy. And from the Amazigh and Congo worlds, where fire and cycles shaped existence. This was not just belief, it was technology of the spirit. It was psychology before psychology, metaphysics before metaphysics, philosophy before philosophy, a blueprint older than scripture, older than temples, older than time. This map once united a continent, one vision, many expressions, a harmony of differences, a mosaic of truths, a spiritual architecture so vast that no empire could fully erase it. But empires tried. Borders separated. Invaders scattered memory across deserts, mountains, and oceans. Languages were broken, traditions outlawed, and names rewritten. The map faded from public knowledge, but it did not die because the blueprint survived. In stories whispered at dusk, in rituals guarded by elders, in symbols carried through dance, drum, and dream, in memory, the place no empire can conquer. And today, it returns. From the first people to Kemet, to the kingdoms of the West, to the islands of Ethiopia, to the fires of the Sahara. We will rebuild the map of the African soul, piece by sacred piece. Before kingdoms, before writing, before stone, the first people mapped the soul through trance, breath, and shadow. Their knowledge wasn't carved into monuments. It lived in rhythm, in fire, in the open land. It moved through sand and sky like breath itself. The San and Khoisan, the oldest surviving cultures on earth, didn't study the soul. They lived it. And in their living, they left behind the world's first soul map. The San believed that a person is not just body and thought, but breath and energy, motion and memory. The Kauai, or life breath, is not just oxygen. It is the sacred wind that animates all living beings. It flows in through the nose and out through the mouth, connecting the physical to the spiritual. Without Kauai, there is no life, not just in the body, but in the world. Plants breathe, animals breathe, ancestors breathe through us. Then comes the Go, the heart soul. This is the place of intuition, of knowing without knowing. It is not the mind, but deeper than the mind. It is the whisper in the chest that speaks before logic can catch up. It is how the sun senses danger, guidance, and ancestral presence. To ignore the Go is to walk blind even with open eyes. Beside it is the Zoba, the shadow soul. This is the soul you do not see in the mirror, but the one that follows you wherever you go. It is said to store both your memory and your silence. It is the part of you that can be touched in dreams, in trance, or in the long stillness between breaths. When a sun healer calls upon someone's spirit, it is often the Zoba they are reaching for. But perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of the soul map is the trance soul, the self that leaves the body during sacred dance. For the sun, healing is not spoken, it is danced. In ceremonies under moonlight, drummers strike rhythms while dancers slip into altered states. The trance soul rises sometimes from the base of the spine, sometimes from the breath itself, and flies across the desert, into ancestors, into other realms. These journeys are not symbolic, they are real. Within these trances, pain is healed, lost souls are guided. The body remains behind, but the self, the real self, moves. And then there is the ancestor wind, the belief that ancestors do not speak in words, but through wind, rain, and animals. When a gust passes through the trees unexpectedly, it is not mere weather, it is communication. When a kudu appears during a trance, it is not just an animal, it is a messenger. The sun do not separate nature from spirit. Nature is spirit, and the wind is often the first to speak. To the sun and Khoisan, the soul is not static. It is not a possession. It is a journey, ever moving, ever shifting, always listening. Their cosmology sees no boundary between the living and the dead, the body and the beyond. The soul is not singular, it is plural, and it is alive in dance, in sound, in wind, in vision. These are not metaphors. They are lived realities passed through thousands of generations, surviving colonizations, language loss, and cultural fragmentation. The San didn't write their soul system in books because they were the book. The soul was danced, dreamed, sung into being. Their wisdom is not primitive, it is primordial, foundational. It is the original language of the soul, etched not into stone but into the air itself. Their soul was movement. Their soul was wind. Their soul was a traveler between worlds. And from this first breath of sacred memory, we move to the oldest recorded soul system.
To the Nile sages, a human was not a single soul, but six, a council, a constellation, an inner kingdom with many thrones, body and shadow, name and memory, power and spirit. While other civilizations would later speak of mind, body, and soul as a trinity, Kemet, ancient Egypt, had already built a far more intricate system. A metaphysical structure carved into tombs, painted on coffins, and whispered by priests. A blueprint where 6 souls lived within one being, each with its own function, its own path, its own afterlife. The first was the Ka, the life force, the twin made of energy. It was believed to be born with you and to stay close after death. The Ka needed food, water, offerings, not for nourishment, but to stay balanced. It animated the body while alive and remained near the tomb after death, receiving sustenance through ritual. The Ka was the soul of vitality, of survival, of spiritual heat. Without Ka, there was no living breath, no will to move, no strength to rise. Then came the Ba, often translated as the personality soul. But it was more than that. The Ba was the aspect of the self that could move between realms. It had wings. It was often depicted as a bird with a human head, flying from the tomb to the heavens and back. It represented your emotional identity, your story, your unique spark. Where the Ka stayed grounded, the Ba traveled. Where the Ka was essence, the Ba was expression. But the soul was not complete without a name. In Kemet, your name was your eternity. The Ren, or name soul, was more than a label. It was your identity, inscribed across time. To speak a name was to give it power. To erase a name was to destroy a soul. That's why pharaohs built temples, to protect the Ren, to ensure their names echoed through eternity.
To lose one's Ren was to become untethered, to vanish from the memory of both worlds. The fourth soul was Sheut, the shadow soul, not a metaphor but a real spiritual component of the self. The Sheut followed you everywhere, unseen but present. It was your double, your echo. It absorbed your life experiences, your secrets, your spiritual imprint. Some believed the Sheut could be manipulated, that it held power in magic and cause. To the priests, the Sheut was both protector and potential threat. It was sacred and dangerous. At the center of the soul council sat the Aib, the heart soul, the seat of memory, morality, and truth. In Kemet, the brain was discarded during mummification, but the heart was preserved. The Ib was weighed against the feather of Ma'at in the afterlife. If the heart was heavy with lies, injustice, or imbalance, the soul was devoured. But if it was light, if it remembered truth, it passed on. The Ib was your moral record, and every heartbeat was a signature. Finally, there was Sekim, the soul of power, of spiritual magnetism. Sekim was not personal strength, but divine radiance. It was your force field, your energetic presence. A person with strong Sekim could lead nations, heal others, or disturb entire spaces. Sekim was rarely spoken of directly. It was felt. It was the glow behind the eyes, the vibration in the voice, the spiritual weight of a person's being. Together, these six formed the sacred architecture of the self. They didn't compete, they collaborated. They were a council, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in conflict, all within the temple of the body. Kemet was the first civilization to write the soul down, in temples, in tombs, in stone. They left us more than monuments. They left us instructions for how to live, how to die, how to return. Each soul had a ritual. Each part had a portal. And to be human was to honor them all. This system wasn't superstition. It was science, spiritual anatomy, a multidimensional psychology carved into walls older than entire empires. And though many would later claim that Africa had no philosophy, no metaphysics, no theology, the walls of Kemet whisper otherwise. They speak of a people who knew the self as sacred complexity, a people who refused to reduce the soul to one flat idea, Kaba Ren Shotib Sekam, a hexagram of human divinity. And so, we honor the Nile not just for the civilizations it birthed, but for the soul structure it preserved. But across the continent, the blueprint continued to evolve. In Yoruba cosmology, the soul is not random. It is structured. It is planned. It is architectural. Before birth, each soul stands at a cosmic crossroads. There, in the silent court of heaven, your Ori, your spiritual head, makes a choice. It selects your destiny, not by accident, not by force, but with awareness. Ori is more than a spiritual GPS. It is the seat of faith, intuition, and purpose. To the Yoruba, your Ori is the most sacred part of you. Even the god, the Orisha, bow to Ori. Your Ori chose your destiny before birth. Your life, your tests, your talents, even your struggles, all of it was seen and accepted by Ori in the realm before incarnation. But once the choice is made, the divine spark must enter the body. That spark is Emi, the breath soul. It is the divine wind that animates life. Without Emi, the body is clay. With Emi, it becomes instrument, vessel, spirit in motion. The breath is not just air. It is God's breath shared through generations, sacred and eternal. Above Ori sits Iponri, the higher self still residing in heaven. It is the purest version of you untouched by confusion, distraction, or earthly hardship. While your Ori guides you from within, your Iponri watches from above, offering glimpses through dream, ritual, and revelation. It is your divine double, and you are its mission on earth. To live well is to align with your Ori. But to see clearly, the Yoruba teach that you must balance two visions: the Oju Inu, your inner eye, and the Oju De, your outer eye. The outer eye sees the visible world, people, places, transactions. But the inner eye sees vibration, energy, purpose. It perceives what the physical cannot. A spiritually mature person sees with both. Then there is Ashe, the animating life force that flows through all creation. Ashe is not just power. It is the activation of power. It is the force behind every spoken word, every ritual act, every prayer. To speak with Ashe is to declare and manifest. To live with Ashe is to walk with divine presence. Even the Orisha depend on Ashe. It flows from Olodumare, the supreme force, and lives in every tree, stone, river, and being. In total, the Yoruba person is a divine equation. Ori, destiny, plus Emi, breath, plus Iponri, higher self, plus Oju Inu, inner eye, plus Oju Di, outer eye, plus Ashe, creative force. This is the architecture of the soul, a blueprint of destiny that extends beyond flesh and time. Each person is born with responsibility, not only to survive, but to remember, to realign with what they chose before birth, to feed the Ori, to protect the Emi, to listen to the Oju Inu when the world becomes noisy, to speak with Ashe and create worlds with words. To the Yoruba, a human is not simply born. A human is assembled, a living agreement between heaven and earth. And destiny is not imposed. It is accepted. The tragedy is not in having a hard destiny. It is in forgetting the agreement. That is why rituals exist. To cleanse, to realign, to ask forgiveness of Ori, and to restore balance between the soul's design and the life lived. Your Ori chose your destiny before birth. Your Emi carried the breath of God. Your Ashe made your words reshape reality. In this sacred system, the soul is both blueprint and builder. To the Yoruba, a human is a pact between heaven and earth. Transition. Where the Yoruba placed destiny in the head, the Igbo placed destiny in companionship. In Igbo cosmology, the soul is not just something you carry, it's someone you walk with. The Igbo say, Onye ọbụla nwere chi ya. Every person has their chi. It is your personal God, your divine twin, the spark of the Creator specifically assigned to you. Chi is not a passive presence. It is your constant companion, your spiritual mirror, your invisible guide. Your chi chose to come with you. And you, whether you remember or not, made a pact to listen. But chi is not your only spiritual dimension. At the center of your being is your Obi, the heart soul, the seat of intuition, feeling, emotion, and moral compass. When you are at peace, it is because your Obi is calm. When your spirit is restless, it is the Obi that trembles first. The Obi is not a romantic idea of heart. It is a spiritual sensor, alert to truth, tension, harmony, and disruption. It hears what logic cannot. It feels what spirit knows. Beyond Chi and Obi lies the realm of Momo, your spirit identity in the unseen world. This is who you are on the other side, before birth and after death. The Momo connects you to ancestral memory, collective consciousness, and spiritual lineage. It is often what appears in dreams, what travels in rituals, what is invoked during naming ceremonies or initiations. The Mo is not bound to the body, it is part of the larger self, invisible but active. Upon this self is stamped the Akara Aka, your destiny mark. This is the pattern you are born into, shaped by Chi and revealed through time. It is not fixed fate. It is a signature of potential, a soul map drawn in light. Some read the Akara Aka through divination. others through behavior and life signs. It shows where the river of your life is meant to flow. But rivers, as the Igbo know, can be redirected. That's where Ikenga comes in. The will soul, the spirit of ambition, power and achievement. Represented in shrines as a horned figure holding tools of work or war, Ikenga is the force that helps you execute your destiny. Chi may show the path, Obi may feel the truth, Mama may remind you who you are, but Ikenga makes it happen. It is your inner warrior, your manifesting power, your resolve in the face of resistance. Together, these elements form a multi-layered soul system. Chi, divine twin Obi. Intuitive heart, Momo, spirit self. Akara, Aka, destiny, Makikanga. Will to rise to the Igbo. Destiny is not given. It is negotiated. The Chi proposes, but the human decides. The path is sacred, but it is walked with agency. This is not a fatalistic worldview. It is deeply spiritual and deeply empowering. You are not a slave to fate. You are a partner in becoming. Rituals exist not to beg, but to align with Chi, with Obi, with ancestors, with purpose. Sacrifice, prayer, song, and silence are tools of recalibration. When life becomes confusing, it is the Igbo way to ask, have I listened to my Chi? Have I honored my Obi? Have I forgotten my Ikenga? This is not metaphor. It is memory, ancestral technology that shaped identity, culture, and moral vision for centuries. A soul system built not on fear, but on dialogue with the divine inside. The Igbo say, Onye nwere chi ya. Every person has a God within. Your Chi is the twin who walks beside you. Your Obi feels what the spirit knows. Destiny is not given. It is negotiated. Now we journey south, where the ancestors walk inside the living.
To the Zulu and Xhosa people, the soul is not individual. It is inherited. You are not one spirit. You are a lineage walking. You are the living skin of those who came before. In this worldview, the soul begins with Umoya, the breath wind spirit. It is the animating essence, the invisible life force carried by the air. When a baby takes its first breath, Umoya enters. When the final breath leaves, Umoya returns to the ancestors. But it does not vanish. It circles. It lingers. It whispers through dreams and speaks through wind. Umoya is movement between realms, between generations. It is not locked inside the body. It is the part of you that listens when silence speaks. It is the part that knows when something unseen has entered the room, and it is never alone. Because within you, walking beside you always, is your Idlozi, the ancestor spirit. In the plural, Amadlozi. These are not just the remember the dead. These are the active guiding forces of your lineage. The Idlozi is your bloodline made conscious, your grandmother's strength, your grandfather's wisdom, a chorus of spirits who protect, guide, and sometimes discipline. You do not inherit money alone, you inherit presence. Rituals in Zulu and Xhosa culture are designed to keep this relationship balanced. When things go wrong in life, sickness, confusion, misfortune, the question is often asked, have I honored my Idlozi? Because when the ancestor is neglected, the soul grows heavy. But when the connection is nurtured, life flows in harmony. The Idlozi speaks through dreams, symbols, animals, and sometimes even illness. Healing is often less about curing the body and more about restoring ancestral alignment. This brings us to Isithunzi, often translated as shadow, but it is much more. It is your spiritual authority, your power, your dignity, your reputation, not just in the community, but in the spirit world. A person with strong Isithunzi carries weight. When they speak, people listen. When they enter a space, the energy shifts. Isithunzi is not just about status, it's about alignment with both self and ancestors. It is earned through right living, ritual respect, and moral strength. To damage your isitunzi is to weaken your spiritual standing. To strengthen it is to become a vessel for the ancestral current. In this spiritual system, the soul is not healed through words alone. It requires umuti, spiritual medicine. Umuti is not just herbs or plants, it is knowledge infused with sacred intent. It can be a potion, a smoke, a bath, a word, a song sung at the right moment, a prayer whispered into the bones of the earth. The healer, or Isangoma, reads the unseen, guided by ancestors, and prescribes not only treatment, but transformation. Through Umuti, balance is restored. The breath is cleared, the shadow is strengthened, the ancestors are honored, and the path ahead is realigned. In total, the soul of a Zulu or Xhosa person is not a singular flame. It is a fire passed down, carefully tended, kept alive through ritual, respect, and deep listening. It is breath, umoya, it is bloodline, idlodzi, it is shadow authority, isitunzi, and it is healing force, umuti. To live well is to live in conversation with the ancestors, to remember that your life is not yours alone. You are never alone. You walk with a crowd of memory. To the Zulu, no soul stands alone. Your idlodzi walks with you. Your isitunzi carries your power. Your umoya moves like wind between worlds. And deeper in the south, the soul becomes light.
In the highlands and plains of the southern lands, the Sotho and Tswana people taught that the soul was not only in breath or blood, it was in light. Not a harsh glare, but a soft glow, a subtle vibration that radiates from within, shaping presence, character, and the way a person moves through the world. They called this inner radiance Seriti. Seriti is not seen, it is felt. It is your presence before you speak. It is the respect your ancestors cast over you at birth, the dignity you carry when you walk, the weight of your name before you open your mouth. Seriti is moral gravity. It doesn't demand loudness. It anchors quiet strength. It is the echo your soul leaves in a room. A person with Seriti doesn't need announcement. Their energy precedes them, and people sense it even in silence. Sometimes Seriti is called character or reputation, but it runs deeper than social standing. It is spiritual presence, a form of light that resonates with ancestors, with community, with the land. It is what makes a person honorable. To lose Seriti is to become hollow. To gain it is to become rooted, not only in self, but in legacy. But Seriti needs companion souls. It needs a spark of life, a flame from within. That spark is Lesedi, the inner light. Lesedi is subtle. It is not the glare of ambition, but the glow of purpose. It is the part of you that remembers your path in darkness when the wind bites and the world forgets. Lesedi whispers in doubt. It nudges in fear. It keeps faith alive when reason fails. It is quiet inner conviction, a small flame that refuses to die. Where Seriti draws respect from around you, Lesedi lights the way within you. It is that inner compass guiding you through storms. It is hope, ambition, clarity seated in spirit. It is the inner voice that says, stand upright, hold fast, walk true. Completing this triad is Moya, the breath spirit, the life wind that moves through all living beings. Moya is the living flow of vital energy. It is breath in the lungs, wind on the skin, movement in the bones, pulse in the blood. It connects the individual to the world. It connects the present with the ancestors. Every exhale is a conversation with the earth. Every inhale, a pledge to life. When Moya flows smoothly, Seriti glows. Lesedi burns bright and the soul stands whole. When Moya is blocked by fear, anger, hatred, shame, the inner light dims, the presence fades, and the spirit becomes heavy. In Sotho, and Tswana traditions, cleansing rituals, songs, drumming, storytelling, all serve to open the flow of Moya, to restore balance, to reconnect with ancestors. To live well is to maintain the flow. To respect breath, light, presence, ancestry. To carry yourself with dignity, to walk with integrity, to speak with honesty. Because Seriti, Lesedi, and Moya are not separate pieces. They are a single radiance expressed in different frequencies. Seriti is not seen. It is felt. It is your presence, your imprint, the echo your soul leaves in a room. A life lived without Seriti is a body without echo. A mind without Lesedi is a path without light. A breath without Moya is a life without wind. But with all three, presence, light, breath, you become more than human. You become a living constellation of soul. You carry within you the quiet power of your ancestors, the inner flame of purpose, the wind of existence. This inner light is not exclusive. It is a gift, but one that must be nurtured. It is awakened through ritual, through respect, through humility. It grows in silence as much as in song. It flourishes when roots run deep and branches reach wide. And from this quiet, powerful light, we continue our journey. Now we climb westward toward the cliff dwellers who saw the soul as a star.
To the people of the Niger's cliffs under the star-strewn sky of Bandiagara, the soul is more than flesh. To the Dogon, a human being is a starseed, not born of dirt, but of cosmic breath. They begin with a Ni, the life force. Ni is the living pulse that flows from the heavens through the body and returns beyond. It is the spark breathed into existence by the sky, the energy that warms the flesh, the subtle hum that persists even when the body sleeps. Without a Ni, there is no waking dawn, no heartbeat, no whisper of consciousness. It is the primal spark, the cosmic candle lit at birth. But the starseed carries more than spark. It holds a seed of creation. Yebi, the ancestral creation seed. Yebi is not memory alone. It is potential. It is the blueprint of what a soul might become. It is the inherited promise from ancestors who mapped the stars, who knew the pathways of planets, who looked up and heard the universe speak. Within Yebi lies the code of lineage, of destiny, of cosmic connection. You carry not only yourself, you carry generations. You carry constellations. Then there is Kain, the inner eye, the cosmic sight. While ordinary eyes see earth and trees and dust, the Kain sees stars, sees cycles of galaxies, sees the pulses of existence beyond what we call reality. It is inner vision, the capacity to read the universe in a breath, to sense patterns in silence, to glimpse destiny shimmering in the night sky. With Kin, the soul remembers that it belongs to more than the soil. It belongs to the sky. But Kain only opens when the soul passes through Po, the hidden realm of potential, the womb of possibility. Po is neither life nor death. It is the dimension before birth, the realm beyond time, the dark womb where all stars are born. Creation begins in Po, not with action, but with stillness. In that cosmic silence, the seed stars, the blueprint pulses, the starseed chooses its path. Po holds what could be, what might be, waiting for Ni, Jebe, Kine to align and ignite the journey. And from Po emerges not just flesh, but Nomo, the vibrational beings of creation. Nomo is not singular. It is movement. It is word song. It is the rhythm that animates galaxies, hearts, thoughts. In Dogon lore, Nomo were the first messengers of the universe, beings who spoke creation into being. Their voice shaped stars, their breath filled life. In humans, Nomo resonates in our words, in our songs, in our breath when we call the unseen into being. To the Dogon, this is not metaphor. This is spiritual architecture. A human being is a vessel of cosmic energy, a living constellation, born of Ni, seeded by Yebi, seen through Kine,
emerging from Po, vibrating with Nomo. To the Dogon, a human being is a starseed. The soul is vibration. The soul is memory. Creation begins in Po, the hidden realm where all possibility sleeps. Every birth echoes the stars. Every breath sings ancient codes. Every death returns the seed, ready to be planted anew among galaxies. The Dogon viewed the soul not as an isolated spark, but as part of cosmic symphony. And as we speak their name, we stand beneath the same sky, touched by the same origin. The cliff dwellers taught that humans are echoes of stars, and in that echo all humanity finds kinship. And in the highlands, the soul becomes breath made holy. Far to the northeast of the continent, among highlands and mountains touched by mist and ancient prayers, the people of Ethiopia conceived the soul as a sacred breath, not as fragments, but as a unified whole. In their sacred languages, the word was Nephis, breath spirit. Each inhale a gift, each exhale a prayer. Life itself was sacred air, drawn from God and returned to God. For them, the soul was not multiple. It was holy and singular. The Kedus, Nephis, the Holy Soul, flowed through every living being. It was the divine spark placed by God at the moment of creation, bridging the physical and the spiritual. In this breath was sanctity, life, and purpose. To breathe was to pray. To exist was to worship. Every heartbeat echoed creation. This understanding flowed into a broader spiritual vision, Tewahedo, the unity of body, soul, and spirit. In that unity, no separation existed between flesh and faith, between mind and memory, between living flesh and eternal spirit. Your body was temple. Your breath was offering. Your life was covenant. The Ethiopian soul did not fragment. It remained whole, a testament to divine design. To live was to honor the bond, earth and sky, human and holy, mortal and divine. At the heart of this covenant was Kalkidan, the divine covenant essence. It was not a soul part, but the seal that binds body, breath, and spirit into one sacred contract. Kalkidan ensured that every human carried within them the living promise of unity, life rooted in sacred breath, guided by holy purpose, destined for an eternal covenant beyond time. In Ethiopian tradition, to breathe was more than survival. It was remembrance, a remembrance of origin, of God's breath turning dust into being. It was worship in the simplest act. Each inhale affirmed existence. Each exhale released gratitude. In moments of prayer, of ritual, of quiet reflection, the faithful would close their eyes and feel the Nephis flow, aligning their flesh with their spirit, the mind with their soul. The unity was felt deep inside, not as doctrine, but as living truth. So for Ethiopia, humanity was not a collection of parts struggling to stay together. Humanity was holy unity, mind, body, breath, and being fused into one living breath. The soul was not divided. It was whole, and life was sacred simply because it existed. Across the desert, another ancient people shaped their own soul map. Across the shifting sands of the Sahara and the stony heights of the Atlas Mountains, the Amazigh, the Berber peoples carried the vision of the soul as flame, memory, and fate. In their tradition, the soul is not water, wind, or shadow. It is fire. A living ember passed through generations, carried deep in the heart. They named it Tamegura, the soul essence. This was the core flame within a person, the glow of identity, ancestry, and spirit. Tamegura is not visible, but it warms from the inside. It pulses with history, it flickers with memory, it burns with awareness of who you are and who you come from. Around that ember revolves Tagut, the spirit force. Tagut is the power that fans the flame. It is energy, movement, passion, and will. With Tagut, the fire inside is not passive. It stirs, it reaches, it becomes alive. Tagut is the spark that lights the path, that ignites destiny, that breathes life into purpose. It is the force that turns intention into action. Within the flame also lives a hidden soul, Tislit, the inner bride, the twin soul. Tislit is not public, not proclaimed. It is sacred. It is the hidden self, the soul's beloved companion that journeys beside you in silence. Tislit holds secrets. It cradles dreams. It carries hopes. It is the quiet fire that glows even when the world sleeps. The soul that watches over memory, longing, and inner truth. Then there is Afus Numar, the destiny path, literally the hand of life. This is the course carved by the flame and shaped by the spirit force. Afus Numar is the way you walk, the choices you make, the destiny written by fire and intention. It is not rigid fate but directional fire, a path lit by purpose and guided by ancestral flame. It is the hand that shapes life, guided by Tamegra, fueled by Tagut, witnessed by Tislit. But deeper than self or path stands the ancient hearth, the ancestral fire. This fire is generational. It is collective memory. It is the flame lit by ancestors, kept alive by descendants. When you carry ancestral fire, you carry more than your own life. You carry the lives of many. You carry songs older than mountains, stories older than dunes, memory older than empires. To the Amazigh, every person carries two selves. The seen self that walks through markets, the hidden bride that lives in silence and prayer. Every person carries fire and memory, flesh and spirit. The soul is not a part of you. It is a legacy, a flame that burns across time. To the Amazigh, the soul was fire, a flame of memory, a force of destiny. Every person carried two selves, the seen self and the hidden bride. Between dunes and starlight, the soul rises in ember, dances with wind, and burns with purpose. The flame is not meant to be hidden, but to endure. Now, to Central Africa, where the soul becomes a cycle. In the lands of the Congo people, the soul is not a line, it is a circle. Life, death, and rebirth are woven in a cycle as natural as the rising of the sun. In their cosmology, every human is part of a great wheel of existence, turning through phases of birth, power, death, and renewal. At the heart of this cycle lies Untu, the universal life principle. Into is the primal source, the root of all being. It is not just personal life, but cosmic life. The intelligence behind creation, the force that animates all that exists. When one is born, Untu enters through the spirit. When life ends, Untu remains, waiting for the next cycle to begin. This universal force connects all souls, all beings, all cycles. Untu is the constant beneath change. Connected to Untu is Moyo, breath consciousness. Moyo is the living breath, the awareness that pulses in every heartbeat. It is your conscious existence, the spark of awareness that distinguishes life from stillness. With Moyo, the world is felt, known, sensed. With Moyo, you are alive, not just in body, but in soul. It is the breath that remembers, the breath that carries consciousness from birth until the crossing. When life reaches its destined turning point, the journey enters Dikenga, the four-cycle soul wheel. Dikenga divides existence into stages: beginning, growth, maturity, rest. Each phase a turn of the wheel, each turn a lesson. In Dikenga, birth transforms into power, power into decline, decline into death, not as an end, but as a passage. It is the cyclical rhythm of life, death, and rebirth embedded in the soul's design. Guiding each soul's path is Nzila, the pathway of destiny. Nzila is the route you walk across the cycles. It is choice, direction, and journey. It is the path carved between birth and renewal, the road taken by ancestors, the trails left for descendants. And Zila is both personal and ancestral. Your steps echo long footsteps that came before and set the rhythm for those who follow. Beyond death lies Mpemba, the white ancestral realm. It is not oblivion. It is home. It is the place where souls rest, regenerate, transform. In Mpemba, the spirit becomes ancestral energy, memory becomes legacy, and the cycle readies for rebirth. There, the soul recharges with cosmic force, aligned with N2, until the summoning of a new journey. In the Congo cosmos, life is a circle, not a line, not a ladder, a wheel. Birth, power, death, renewal. The soul crosses the Kalunga line, the threshold between worlds, and returns again and again and again. The crossing is not an end, but a passage, a return, a continuation. This cyclical vision transforms death from tragedy into transition. It gives meaning to loss, to grief, to endings. It honors the living, respects the dead, and welcomes a rebirth. And now we reveal the pattern, the map behind the map. Across the vast expanse of Africa, from desert to delta, highland to jungle, mountain to savanna, countless peoples each carried their own sacred map of the soul. Their languages changed, their names changed, their borders shifted, but the structure remained. Hidden in ritual, myth, and memory, a blueprint endured. A blueprint that made human identity not a single voice, but a chorus. This is the Pan-African soul blueprint. The first pattern is the breath soul. Whether called Nefis among Ethiopians, Ka by the Nile sages in Kemet, Emi by the Yoruba, Imoya by the Zulu, Xhosa, Moya by the Sotho-Tswana, Moyo by the Congo, or Kwai by the Sankoisan, breath was sacred. It was the link between earth and sky, spirit and flesh. It animated the body, connected ancestors and descendants, and reminded every child that life begins with air and ends with breath returned. Breath soul is universal, a pulse across cultures, a reminder that we are living spirits. Next is the shadow soul, the half of the self that remains hidden but essential. In Kemet, it was short. Among the Zulu, Xhosa, Isitunzi. In Sotho-Tswana, Seriti. Among the San, Iuzuba. This shadow soul carries memory, trauma, hidden strengths, and ancestral power. It is the double we seldom see, but that shapes our fate. It reminds us our soul is layered. What is visible is not all that lives. Then, there is the name soul, known to Kemet as friend. To have a name was to claim immortality, spoken, remembered, honored throughout time. Across Africa, names carried power, ancestry, destiny, identity. To speak a name was to give life. To forget it was to invite erasure. The name soul anchored identity beyond flesh, beyond generations. The destiny soul is perhaps the most personal, and yet the most universal. It appears in many languages and traditions. Ori among Yoruba, Chi among Igbo, Ipondri, heaven self, among Yoruba, Afu Sinumar, hand of life, among Amazigh, and Zila, pathway, among Congo, Akara, Aka, destiny mark, among Igbo. Destiny soul is the blueprint chosen before birth, the pact between heavens and earth, the path carved by spirit and choice. It says, you were born not by accident, but by purpose. Your life has direction. Your being has meaning. Interwoven with destiny is the heart soul, the core of feeling, intuition, moral truth. Known as Ib in Kemet, Obi in Igbo lands, Zaj, Gao among the San. This is the seat of emotion, memory, conscience, connection. It remembers love, pain, joy, sorrow. It guides empathy, shapes relationships, binds communities. The heart soul reminds us that to be human is to feel deeply, and to carry that feeling in the sacred chambers of spirit. Beyond individual faith and feeling lies the ancestral soul, the legacy that spans generations. The Zulu Xhosa Idlozi, the Dogon Yebbe, the Congo Mpemba, the Sun Ancestor Wind, All these names point to the same truth, that we carry more than ourselves. We carry our forebears, their memory, their wisdom, their burdens. This soul pattern reminds each living person that they are not alone. The line of humanity runs deep, and we walk not just for ourselves, but for all who came before and all who will come after. Then there is the inner light, the spark of insight, faith, clarity, called Lesedi among Sotho-Tswana, or the Ethiopian light soul in Highlands tradition. This is the flame that guides inner vision. It helps a person see truth beyond illusion, find purpose beyond survival, and shine in darkness as a beacon of spirit. Inner light is hope, wisdom, clarity, the soul's own lamp. In complement, we find the inner eye, the ability to perceive beyond physical reality, known as Oju Inu among Yoruba, Keen among Dogon. This is spiritual vision, cosmic sight. It perceives patterns, ancestors, spirits, destiny. It senses what the outer eye cannot. Inner eye grants insight, prophecy, connection. It says that reality isn't only what you see. Much of it must be felt, sensed, remembered. In some frameworks, life is not linear but cyclical, a wheel rather than a line. That is captured in the cycle soul, called the Kanga by the Congo. It maps birth, growth, maturity, decline, death, and renewal. Life as eternal flux, death as transformations, existence as sacred rhythm. Through cycle soul, humanity embraces continuity, not finality. Then there is the twin soul, the idea that within every person exists duality, body and spirit, light and shadow, physical self and cosmic self. Systems like Kaba in Kemet, Ori Iponri, Yoruba, Shibodi, Igbo, Tizlit Tagut, Amazigh, and trance soul, San, reflect these truths. The twin soul recognizes that one being holds many selves, and that survival, destiny, and spirit require balance between these selves. At the root of all is the primal soul, the original soul system of humanity. The Sankoisan traditions remind us that before empires, before cities, before writing, there were human beings who understood soul as fluid, alive, universal. Their map, breath, wind, dance, memory, is the oldest we know. It is primal, the first blueprint. But humanity is also fire, and fire demands transformation. Thus emerges the fire soul, carried by the Amazigh as their soul flame. It is memory, identity, destiny, burning bright across generations, across geography. Fire soul is ancestral flame, forging identity through heat, light, and will. And beyond fragmentation, beyond multiplicity, there is unity soul, the vision of wholeness practiced in Ethiopian tradition under Tewa Heido, unity of body, soul, and spirit. In that union, the human being returns to sacred integrity. Flesh and breath unified, identity sacred, purpose holy. Unity soul is the summit, where all parts converge into one living harmony. This is the Pan-African blueprint, 13 soul patterns, countless names, infinite expressions, yet one truth. Across 3,000 cultures and 54 nations, Africa told one story. The human being is not one. The human being is many. We've walked the breath of the sun, the council of Kemet, the destiny of Yoruba, the inner god of Igbo, the ancestral winds of the Zulu, the inner light of Sotho, the cosmic soul of Dogon, the holy breath of Ethiopia, the desert flame of the Amazigh, the cyclical wheel of the Congo. And in all, we find ourselves not divided, not lost, but whole, many-sided, multi-voiced, soul-rich, and alive. Empires arose, borders shifted, pages were burned. When conquerors came with swords and laws, they erased names, rewrote maps, banned languages. They stretched borders across rivers, deserts, forests. They built new kingdoms on bones and dust. They declared some truths heresy. They declared some souls non-existent and invisible, meaningless, beyond redemption. But the African soul remained, in breath, in shadow, in destiny, in memory, in light, in name, in the ancestors. It was never contained by borders. It was never bound by ink. It survived in hushed stories passed under firelight, in whispered prayers carried by wind across savannas and deserts, in rhythmic drumbeats that echo the heartbeat of distant ancestors, in seeds planted deep in earth and memory, in language sung, in dance revived, in symbols endured. Africa did not divide the visible from the invisible. Africa united them into one truth. Where others saw land and water, Africa saw soul and sky. Where others perceived bodies, Africa felt spirits. Where others catalogued people, Africa remembered humanity. Layered, multidimensional, living beyond death. Africa's blueprint did not rely on monuments. It relied on memory, the soul's true archive. They tried to erase it, to fragment it, to dilute it, to silence it. But memory is the strongest heritage, and the soul is the most persistent witness. Now, the blueprint returns, not rewritten by scholars, but reminded by people. In our breath, in our blood, in our songs, in our children's names, the soul remembers. The ancestors remember, and we remember. This is the blueprint they tried to erase, but the ancestors kept it alive, in us. If this journey through breath and flame, stars and cycles, soul maps and memory touch something inside you, then hold it close. Let it shine. Let it guide you. Let it speak, like to honor the ancestors. Comment, I am a soul of many parts. Subscribe to History Store, where truth sails again.